my car right after a beer. Hey, that bomb is shaped like a deer. DUI, how about you die? I'll go 100 miles an hour. Little do you know, I filled up on gas. I'm a kid, you're about to make an ass. Pulverize this fog with my booking truck. It seems you're out of luck. Driving in my car right after a beer. Hey, that bomb is shaped like a deer. DUI, how about you die? I'll go 100 miles an hour. Little do you know, I filled up on gas. I'm a kid, you're about to make an ass. Pulverize this fog with my booking truck. It seems you're out of luck. Driving in my car right after a beer. Hey, that bomb is shaped like a deer. DUI, how about you die? I'll go 100 miles an hour. Little do you know, I filled up on gas. I'm a kid, you're about to make an ass. Pulverize this fog with my booking truck. It seems you're out of luck. Driving in my car right after a beer. Hey, that bomb is shaped like a deer.
Anyways, hi, chat. Just kidding. I'm totally not mute, guys. I would totally tell you if I was really mute and not, you know, hello, 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 hello. What do you mean? Times and then, you know, that happens. Things happen every once in a while. Don't worry about it. I'll just be talking and then suddenly they'll take. But, you know, then it comes back again, so everything's okay. Don't worry about it. Hello. Hello, 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 hello. Don't unfollow me. Don't you dare unfollow me, Neeks. You don't have a choice in the matter. Hello, Jinx. Oh, Jinx. That's right the first time. Anyways, hello. Thank you, Vanya, for getting first. Pink for getting second. Keeper for getting third. Nix, cheers. Here's a hydrate for you. Delicious water. And a stretch. Hi, Nix. Go enjoy your shower. Take me with you. Don't you dare cancel me. You're not allowed to cancel me. So, hello, everybody. Welcome, Lisa Latte. Oh, love seeing you, Lisa. Hi, Spell. I haven't had a chance to look at the clip you made, but I'll come take a look at it. Hi, Lilith, sweetie. How you doing? Hello, Pure Rarity. Hello, Batosai. Hello, Laura Vix. How you doing? Hello, Control Pink. I think I said already hello to Keeper. I most definitely said hi to Vanya, but just in case, hello, Vanya. Hello, Neeks. Hello, Silas. Hello. Is that everybody? Is that Aura? Hello, Aura. Not everybody. Scrolling down, scrolling down, scrolling down. Hello, Jinx. Hello, Lilith again. Hello, Moss Dwarf. How you doing? And hello, Voiden. Hello, Voiden. There we go. Now I've talked to everybody. Hi. Hello. What are we going to do today? Aura! I said Aura to you more than once. Or I said Aura. Anyways, hello. So what we're going to... Ooh, another stretch. Give me a second. We're just going to... hello, Ross Cloyd. How you doing? Anyways. You didn't do the voice. What voice? Hi, Silas. But yes, so today, we were going to do Date Everything. We're not doing Date Everything because I did Date Everything yesterday, and I do not repeat streams, chat. Lovelies. I refuse to repeat streams. You might ask yourself, Gene, why don't you repeat streams? Why don't you play the same game twice if you like to play the same game? Well, I have a reason for that. Eyelashes keep falling. Hello, Moreau, how you doing? Here's a reason why. Here is a reason why. No, there's still more to date, don't worry. But here's the reason why, chat. If you consistently play the same game over and over and over again, like day after day after every day, now for me, say good mons. Okay. Mons, sweeties. You are so very, very good. Good mons. Good little mons. Mwah. You're disrupting sleep to watch you? Thank you. So yes, the reason why I don't play the same game constantly every single day is first off, you get too used to it, and it kind of like cooks it into my brain, and I don't feel that good about playing the same game over and over and over again. But second, here's the big thing. People come back for games, and I love you all so very, very much, but I need you to love me just as much as I love you, and not just love the games. Hello, Lala, the little alien. How you doing, Bunny? Vanya, can I make him praise himself? If you redeem good boy, good girl, or genuine praise and say it's for me, yes, you can. I am sleepy today? Oh, don't be sleepy. But so yes. So instead of doing that, we're gonna do just chatting for a while. I know next, right? I'm so good with my parasocialism. and I forgot what I was gonna say. Chat help. Enjoy your shower, Nix. Take us with you. I'm always sleepy. I know. It's just the way life is. Vanya, I love you. What do you mean? I already said you're good. You're nice. So, today, we're going to be talking about cool shit that I want to do a stream. Because I found out how to do it. I have a program that will do it. I just need to figure out how to run it, which means I need to learn how to code, okay? Also, if you haven't eaten yet, please go eat. If you haven't drank anything yet, please drink. If you haven't taken any meds yet, take some meds. And if you are cool and smell, take a shower. Wait, chat. Come here. Hey, don't run. Stop moving, chat. Stand still. Come here. Hey, Jinx, what did I just say? Don't move. Don't move. Come here. Somebody stinks. Somebody stinks here. Somebody needs to shower. Chat, who needs to shower? One of you needs to shower. One of you needed to shower. Who is it? Which one of you? Raise your hand right now if you need to shower. And not deodorant. Exactly. It was Little Alien. Sorry, Little Alien. Chat, brand Little Alien is stinky. The alien stinks. Brand them. Pin them. Pin them as stinky. Would you still love me if I was shaped like a deer, chat? I would still love you if you're shaped like a deer. She says she's stinky. She Little Alien stinky. What the fuck? Haha, get pinned. Get pinned. You've been pinned, you stinky. Chat, we have the stink. We've identified the stink. Every stream, we're going to have to identify one person as the stink. Hello, Ecstasy. How you doing, Ecstasy Venus? Chat, what if I were to have a little thing on my screen that branded one person as stink? I'm good, I'm tired. Get some sleep, then. Okay, now you can get your snack. Good, good. Proud of you, Jinx. Okay. Ideas. So we're going to be talking about stream. Missed 420. Shit, you can't blaze it now. You all need to, first off, go take your meds, get some food. Everything's good. I'm tired, but I can't. I want food. I want to cry. I want to scream. Well, go get food first. I can't help you with the crying and screaming, but the food is pretty easy to solve, that one. Okay. Here we go. 1 second. Put away the gaming controllers. Do we do screen capture or do we do window capture? I think window capture should work fine for this, right? Yes, okay. Quapam. Oh, sorry. Quapam. Oh, wait. Quapam. MS Paint. Quapam. Yeah, I don't trust me with desktop capture either. Hydrate. Thank you. Whoopam, because I kept messing up. That's why. I keep forgetting these are real people. I know, right? Can you believe people exist? I don't actually believe in people, though. Ami, how you doing? What? Yeah, so we're using MS Paint. What do you mean? Fine. Okay, fine, I'll stretch more. And here's the kiss. Mwah! Fine, I got this, chat. Wait a second. We're gonna do haha, is that better? Are you happy? We'll draw in freaking white. Where's my brush? There's my pencil. Okay. No. Chat, what color do you want my background to be? Use gray? Okay, fine. We'll use gray. Jeez. I'm sorry, it's black now. I can't fix it. It won't stop. Here, we'll do this. Nope, it's black forever, chat. Oh, there it goes. You happy? Gina's the sweet bean? I don't take care of myself. Well, you know, if I stretch too much. Color of D's nuts? Perfect. Here's the color of D's nuts. Make me, Ninx. Make me. Don't ask me why this is the color of the nuts. Okay, we're doing gray. Nut reveal. This seems too gray. Let's make it a lighter gray. Okay, anyways. Hi, your nuts look unweld. Chat, my pants are too tight right now. I can't look at my nuts. I'll look. We'll go find out the color of my nuts later. Okay? Is that okay, chat? Can we wait to find out the color of my nuts until later? Are we all we all on consensus here? Paura. Don't worry about my outline, Nix. Don't you worry about my outline, Nix. Okay, anyways. No, fast forward. We're going to fast forward past this part. Perfect. Chat, I'm sorry, but you just snuck into ball inspection day. We're going to have to inspect your testicles. Sorry. Anyways, hi. Right. Ideas. Chat, we're talking about ideas. We're talking about ideas. You wanted a lighter gay? Okay, fine. I got you. A light gay. Just for you. What's your ball color? God, I mean some shade of white, I'm assuming, okay? Okay. It's just... We're making it nowhere, chat. We're making it nowhere. I'm trying to make it to the just chatting segment. Darker gray? Okay, we'll darken the gray. Are you happy, chat? No, here, I got this. We'll get a new gray just for you, chat. It's gonna be like a slightly green gray. Just so it looks gross. There we go. How's this one? Hi, Kiwi, how you doing? There we go, perfect. The perfect color. Bruise? What about my bruise? What about my bruise, Neeks? What do you want to know about my bruise? It does hurt. I keep touching it, though. I keep touching my bruise, like, nonstop. Okay. So, here we go. I was gonna draw my bruise? Oh, I was gonna draw how I got the bruise. Right. Okay, so here's what I think happened, okay? Okay, here we go. Boom, there's a guy. It's me. You see this guy? And there's stairs. We're gonna go, fuck, how do stairs work? Yeah, stairs. Okay. So I found this cabinet, right? I found this cabinet. And the cabinet is he's big. He's some drawers, right? And, you know, go droop, 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 doof, doof. Big cabinet, okay? And so I have stairs going up to the second floor, which is the floor I live on. Chat, if you want to stalk me, every single second floor in my city, you got this. That guy's so fucking ugly, I want to shit his pants. Fuck you, Batosai. So, here's what I'm thinking happened. The reason why I had a bruise on my leg is because what I did was this. I put this here, swoop, and then swoop. Let's say it's like that. And I was holding the drawers like this. And I was using my knee, to lift up every time to get it up to the next step. So that it was easier to climb the stairs. I'm doing good, Callist. And, you know, having the entire weight of these drawers right on my knee, I think is what bruised them. Yes. Does that make sense? Oh, no, I said I was lifting. No, okay, no, sorry, my drawing's bad. I didn't hit this. Oh, shit. I didn't hit this. I did this, okay, we're gonna go. Every time I lifted up my leg, right? I lifted up my leg, like this. I have the cabinet resting on my leg, like that. So that when I lift up my leg, it moves up one level. Okay? Does that make sense? Hi, Flutie. Flutie, you are late, but you are such a beautiful, lovely girl. So, good girl. So yes, I did not hit my leg on it. I lifted an entire cabinet with my leg. Hey! Don't you call me stupid just because my drawing's awful. It makes sense, okay? Okay. I said rested. Well, I did it though, chat. I did it, and it was big, it was heavy, and it was free. How you doing, Verdi Pixie? How you doing? Mwah. So yes, that is how I think I bruised my leg. That abstract art is so mean. big, heavy, free, how I like my men. I mean, hey, Neeks, I am right here. Don't ask me how I did it. I just did it, and it was hard. But like, okay, so I'm gonna have to be honest though, chat. Half my furniture is now stuff that I have found. Half my furniture stuff that I'd found, okay? Because yeah, we're just gonna do this. Whoop, bloop. And we're gonna wait, where'd it go? Where'd it go, chat? Oh, there it is. It's not working, chat. Fill it. Fill it. Why is it not filling? It's not working, chat. It's not. Phil, go away. I have an idea. Okay. Hit. Delete. We did it! Anyways, so half of my stuff. Now you move on to the right side. If you take a look at the section of the graph, what are we talking? What did I miss? Wait. Slow down. Chat, slow down. Chat, stop it. Stop talking. I need to see what I missed. There's been people who have tried to potentially stalk Gene before. I don't want to repeat that. Oh, that's actually true. That is actually true. Oh, you want to know what's funny? A person took one information that I kind of showed like very, very slightly on stream and tracked down my old address. Luckily, I found out that my new addresses aren't online, but yes, they paid one of those sites to track me down. Which, yeah, that tells a lot about some people. So yeah, don't stalk me, please. I would really, really, really appreciate not being stalked. Anywho. Okay. So, half of the furniture in my place is free. Because there's these big fucking, like, area that has a dumpster inside of it, right? But the dumpster's only so big. And people keep, like, grabbing new furniture stuff. And so every once in a while I'll come by the dumpster and there's just, like, some fucking like a shelf, like a whole shelf just standing there. And I'm like, yeah, fuck it. Oh, fine, here. There you go. There's my little dumpster inside the area. Or I'll go there. And like last time I went there was this whole like carpet. It was just like a whole carpet wrapped in plastic with a note on it that says, still good, just don't have space for it. And, you know, I grabbed it and fuck it. Look, it's not a TV, it's a dumpster. Okay, fine. Give me a second. Shit. Okay. There, it's a dumpster. Does that look better, Chad? Gosh. Okay, fine. Give me a second. No, it's back. Okay, I got this. Okay, so square. Dumpsters are square, right, chat? Right? Okay. Dumpsters. They have these little things with these wheels on it. Bloop. Spoop. Spoop. Bloop. Those are wheels. Okay. They have a little handle on it so you can pull it. And they have this thing, right? The lid. So yeah, dumpster. Do we agree this is a dumpster now? Please. Sure? No. What do you mean no? It looks like a radio. No. Radio. Knob. Screen. Volume. The words. I don't remember what it is. Can I draw a flower? Okay, fuck, fine. You know what? We're using actual shapes. There we go. There you go. There's one wheel. I'm gonna duplicate that wheel. Okay. And now we're gonna draw like do. Okay. We're agreeing that these are wheels now. Okay. There. One's bigger than the other. God, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if one wheel's bigger than the other. What matters is that this is a magical dump. You want your redeem? What did you redeem? Patosai. You want to draw a redeem? I want to draw a redeem. Oh, you want to draw a redeem? You want to redeem where I draw? Okay. You know what, chat? Yes, actually, we'll have a draw redeem because that seems really fucking stupid, and I love it. Here, you know what? This dumpster for some reason has no wheels. Okay. No more wheels on the dumpster. Can we accept it's still a dumpster? That's what is harassing my. Turn it upside down instead of a little dude. Fuck. All that matters, though, is that the magic dumpster has furniture around it and a rug. I got a full fucking Persian carpet, chat. I found an entire Persian carpet wrapped in plastic. Perfect. All I had to do was air it out, and it was amazing. I have shelves. I have drawers. I got a little mini fucking table. I have had so many drawers. I think it's my place, though. My place is gonna be hideous because nothing goes together. No, not the floating shelf. Okay. where like oh, we're gonna diagram my bedroom real quick, okay, chap? So here is we have a door. Shit. Give me a second. Okay, how are we gonna draw this? Okay, door. Right? This is a door. Can we all agree this is a door? This is how you universally... Thank you for the gifted subs! Ignore the line. Okay, Gene house reveal. Then there's a line here. And then there's a closet. Why is my wall so big? Okay, give me a second. There we go. And then we have a door. Swoop. Boop. 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 Okay. We have a wall. We have a wall. But it stops here. Okay. Yes, it's a door. Because chat wouldn't. Thank you for the gifteds, though. I'm like, wait, how many? What? Thank you for all the gifteds. Thank you, Silas. Casually dragging people into the basement. Just, it looks like a stripper, Patrick. He's not. How many degrees in the angle? It doesn't matter. Give me a second. Okay. Bloop. Bloop. And then, and we have a window. It goes like across here and then hit. Okay, that's my room. Oh my god, who just gifted more? Lilith! Lilith, thank you so much for the subs. Thank you so much for the subs. I really appreciate it. Okay, we're still drawing. This is important, chat. This can go into the reason why I complain so much about how cold it is. Down here is a hallway. Don't ask me why there's a hallway here. I'll explain. Shpoop. Shpoop. And then all the way down here is my drying room where there's a washer and a dryer. This is a closet, by the way. This is my closet that I always talk about. You know, the do. It's a walk-through closet. Have you ever seen a walk-through closet, chat? There's no Patrick. I tried. Thank you so much, though. What'd you try? What? Thank you for the bits! What the fuck? I appreciate it. Walk through closet. Weird, right? Anyways. Thank you, Bonnie. I really appreciate it. So this is important because I need to draw to you how I'm living right now. We have a queen-size bed that goes here. All the way this entire wall here is, this is a sliding glass door for some reason. Here is a window. Here is my gaming setup, my desk. Shpoop. Here is the new little cabinet I got. Which I guess the desk goes like here. And that's how organized my place is right now. Thank you for the bits! Aye, Ice. And do you see how awfully set up this place is, by the way? My bed, blanket. Here's a sliding glass door that I can go out onto a balcony. Yeah. You want me to, so I can, okay, and then here's me. Shbloop, bloop, bloop. He's so long. He's so long. Thank you for the bits. Thank you so much. I got tiny little legs, Jet. He's my little legs. And I sleep with boxers on. And that's me. Oh, thank you, Vanya. Thank you for the bits. Okay, but yeah. So what I'm telling you is, this is how awfully designed my place is right now. I think what I want to do. How do you find shirts? I don't. I want to get a sound booth. I might actually do a fundraiser to try to get a sound booth that I can install over here. That'd be like doop, 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 doop. Why is your body 85% of the room? I'm. Chat, I don't know how to tell you this, but I'm actually just really, really long. Fine, Vanya. Give me a second, chat. Give me a second. We've returned. Hello, chat. Okay, just for you, Vonnie. You ready? You ready? You ready? 3. Y'all can hear this, right? You can hear me? 3, 2. There you go. You happy? What do you mean you don't hear? What do you mean you don't hear? I wasn't muted. Fine. Fine. Do I have to get another shirt and rip it? There you go. What do you mean still couldn't hear? I hadn't even ripped it yet. I hadn't. There. Thank you for the bits. Thank you for the bits. Okay. Where were we? I was drawing my shitty room. Yes, I got paid $25 to rip a $5 shirt. I will happily do that. So, again, reason why though I'm so cold constantly or so hot is because this is a fucking patio door. And now, chat, we're gonna draw the rest of my place, okay? We're gonna draw the rest of my place. Give me a second. Boop. Okay. So now we have. What was this? Yeah, it's gone now. Okay. So now we have. There's a hallway here. We have the bathroom here. Shpoop. 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 Bathroom. This is where I poop. I poop in there. I need a 35 degree. You're not getting a 35 degree angle. Oh, wait, there's also a closet here. I forgot about the closet. That doesn't matter. And then, this is making me mad. Why is it making you mad? And then we have the kitchen over here. We have, living room space here. So it goes shoop. Weird fucking closets here for some reason. 2 closets. I'm not high. I'm very sober. This goes back here, and there's the rest. Oh shit, I lost it, chat. It's over here. we gotta leave that line, actually. And I would like to add also, this here, that is a patio. That is a patio for some reason. A fucking balcony or glass door, a full glass door. And so, and the porch goes like this, all the way here and there. There are so many glass doors in this place. And the walls are so thin. I hate it. Anyways. And that is why I'm constantly hot, chat. I hope you enjoyed the story of why I'm hot. Yeah. Why was what a butt? Oh. Exactly. Last time I was high and I don't repeat streams. Actually, there's also a closet on patio. The room got a dumpy. Don't judge my room's dumpy. Don't judge my apartment's dumpy. You like my room's dumpy? And my apartment got cake? Actually, chat, I'm gonna fix this. You know what my house really is? Here we go. This is actually my apartment. It's just yeah. And it's just whoo. And then whoo. Yeah, that's my apartment right there, chat. It's just nice. I'll be sleeping in them cake. I'll be sleeping between them cheeks. His apartment is thicker than me. My apartment is thicker than most people. It's okay. Yes, the cake is very comfy. Why'd I draw a cantaloupe? I'm not a dog. Y'all, thank you all for the apartment. Thank you all for the hype train. I can't believe we hit a fucking level 6 hype train. That was insane. That is insane. Okay, chat, what do I draw next? Can I get my flower? You got this. A flower. Chat, what do flowers looks like? Okay, we got a circle, but it's yellow, right? Bloop. There we go. And we got little pink petals. Swoof, 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 swoof. Yes. And then we paint them. We fill them in. Hey, thank you for the follow. How you doing? And now we do the most important part. The little smiley face. Yes. And then there's a little bee. Yes, the bee. The very important bee with his little things and his little wings. And also, chat, I'm sorry, but the bee is also just caked up for days. Except his ass is very undistinguished, so it's okay. Oh, and then there's like a little thing here. It's got a hand. And a gun. There we go, chat. A flower. Do you like? Is it good? Did I do a good job, chat? Kiwi wanted a raccoon. Gotcha, Kiwi. Okay. Give me a second. Oh, we got this. I can draw a raccoon. I am an artist, chat. And if just because you don't believe me does not mean. And oh, hey, Lilith, you got the custom 1-minute audio. DM me or hit me up on the Discord or hit me on Twitter, and I will hit you up. Okay. Okay. So first First, you gotta think about what a raccoon is. What is a raccoon? Now, a raccoon is a thing, okay? So you draw the environment you'd find a raccoon in, yeah? Okay, it's gonna be something like this. This is where a raccoon might live. It's a thing, don't worry about it. And then you gotta draw, like, where is the raccoon going to be on this thing? And so we got, it's the raccoon pedestal, okay? Okay. And so a raccoon has little legs, perfect, okay? He's got a big round body, okay? He's got a little tail. And then if you just recolor it a little bit, some darker greens. Maybe give it a little eye. And a little mouth. It's a raccoon. Oh, sorry, I forgot the most important part. We gotta... Oh, God. There we go. It's a good raccoon, isn't it? Amazing. Thank you. No, I'm sorry. I'll draw you a raccoon. I promise you a raccoon. We got this. Really came together in the end, didn't it? He's got a head. He's got a little nose. He wears a burglar's mask. Yes. Uh-huh. I think they have stripes, right? And little eyes. Maybe like a little nose. Ears. He's got a hand. No, that's not how hands look. Hand. There we go. Another little hand. He's got a bag. So we all know all raccoons have a little bag for stealing things. What is he stealing? Don't know yet. Chat, what is the raccoon stealing? Chat, I need you to walk me through what the raccoon's stealing. You guys got a circle. He's got a gun. There we go. Yes. Let's just color. We'll color in some lines. He's stealing ass. Got it. Oh God. Okay, we're gonna fix this. Okay. Okay. Fill in that space. There we go. Yes, we wanted gray. Yes. I don't know what that is. Oh no. You know what? No, he's just dark. He's darkness. He's dark. He's stealing Big Macs? Perfect. Got it. We'll do this. I got this. He's just got trash. Trash burgers. He is the night. And actually, chat, I didn't know how to tell you this, but all raccoons actually, they're just wait. They're all actually Batman. That's right, chat. He was Batman all along. So let's finish coloring in here. Some little legs. Oh God! There we go. Yeah, stop it. There we go. There we go. Batman. The raccoon. Are you satisfied with my drawing, chat? Did I do a good job? It's actually just a McDonald's bag. Are you all happy with my And now this is grass. Oh no! Good. He needs a girlfriend? I got this. No, let me draw let me draw the raccoon girlfriend first. Okay. So the raccoon girlfriend is actually in the water, chat. You might be surprised. How do I can't. What does it look like? I'm trying to draw. Okay. That's kind. No. We need. Yes. Okay. He's got a little thing. Yes. And then it goes into a tail, right? Yes. Okay. He's got little beady eyes and a mouth with jagged teeth. A little thing. He's a shark. Oh, but we have to make it a girlfriend. Sorry, give me a second, chat. We're gendering this. We gotta gender this. Okay. Okay. As we all know, what makes gender is a pink dress. There we go. Oh, no. Now it's a girl shark. It's Dar. Oh. Okay, wait, Pinky. Uh-huh. Okay, I got this. Yes. We have the big old eyes. And the frog, the upset frog face, because all frogs are sad all the time. There you go. It's a shark. It's a frog. Freaky little fish. Draw me? Okay, give me a second, chat. I got this. We'll add me to the repertoire, okay? So we got he's got ooh, yes. And you see the shoulders, the neck, woof. And arms. And it's a jacket. Okay. And he's got the hair that goes whoosh. God, he's ugly. I haven't even finished him. He's got these beautiful eyes. And they're big, giant, beautiful eyes. With these Sorry. I was gonna see, so... We have this. I got this, chat. I'm an amazing artist. He's got the little nose. And wait, I have eyebrows. I forgot. Okay. Yes. Don't wait. What do you mean? He smells good. Chat, look. See, these are the smell good lines, okay? Proof I smell good all the time, chat. Smell good lines. Oh, and I have headphones on. Right. Okay. And I have a six-pack, so we're gonna draw my six-pack real quick. It's just gonna... Yeah, there we go. Okay. And the muscular titties. Yes. Giant arms that are super muscular all the time. Hands. Yes. There we go, chat. It's me. Isn't he so cool? Isn't that amazing? Do you not like the style? I'm so look how good looking I look, chat. Look how amazing I look. Isn't this... Yeah. wait, I got this. We're gonna draw the best hands. It's gonna be like... Okay, there we go. Alright. Okay, and the big old thumb. There you go. Eyelashes? I got this. Okay. Eyelashes. Yes. There we go. I didn't. Look up yeah, Neko Sugar Girl. No, I've seen it before. I've seen it before. I don't know what you mean, guys. No, look, I'll finish the frog. We'll finish the frog, okay? Oh, let's use these instead. Oh God. I'll fix it. I swear. Okay. All right. No, I just need to draw. Okay, a little frown. The eyes. Yes. The legs, as all frogs have. The big splayed whoosh, 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 and of course, what all frogs have, a backpack. All frogs have backpacks, just full of guns. Yes, these are guns, chat. Don't worry about it. All frogs have backpacks full of guns. Yes. Oh, sorry. I'll paint in the bag. No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. There you go. See? Gun. Yes. Welcome back, Lala, the little alien. Can we name the frog Gun Diet? We can. We can, chat. Okay, and the shark. We gotta finish the shark, chat. We haven't finished the shark. But the shark is actually he's gonna move a little bit, so I gotta erase this shark, okay? This shark is gone. But instead, we have a new shark. Here's the rock. Oh, shit. Here's the rock. The rock for the shark. And the shark's gonna be like here. He's got his little shark tail. Yes. He's got his little shark hump here. His body. Yes. And he has this eye with this mouth. With this one sharp tooth, okay? He's got these fins. With this little whoosh, whoosh. Okay. And he also has a gun. Yes. Oh God, everything changed colors. Let's not. It's okay, chat. It's okay, I got this, chat. I got this. Aha. There we go. It's self-defense. Exactly. I mean, look, the raccoon robbed the McDonald's, okay? The frog is just there dealing weapons. There's a weird anime guy in the corner. And there's a shark. Like, why would the shark not have a gun, okay? Why would the shark not have a gun? How is the shark going to defend itself from the raccoon? It's a gun shark. Obviously, it's a gun shark. Why are there so many guns? Because this is a dangerous time we live in. Oh, you're right. The shark has laser beams. We got this. There we go. We just... Sharks with freaking lasers. There you go. Oh, the pink dress is missing. You're right. I'm sorry. I forgot the pink dress. I got this. It's very sensual, though. It's a maxi dress. It goes up here. Yes. This is how dresses look, chat. Okay. Yes. I have this. I got this, chat. Oh, everything's pink now. Can't tell. There we go. Okay, there we go. I did it. I've done it. I've done it. Are you happy, chat? Love the pink. Thank you. Thank you. What was I doing again? What was the point of this? Thank you, the shapeshifter VT, by the way. Thank you. I didn't realize you'd followed earlier. I hope you're having a good time. I hope you're having a good time. Give it a pearl necklace? No. The raccoon gets a pearl necklace. The raccoon gets a pearl necklace. Why are they pink? There we go. Okay. Yes. There we go. Of course, there's a string that keeps all the beads together, so you... And there you go! Where's the bunny? Why would there be a bunny? Yes, you can draw me as a blobbin. Draw me as blobbin. Those are fake pearls. Don't be looking... They're real. They're real. Don't tell the raccoon they're fake. Bunny? Okay, I got this. I got these. I'm just gonna... Okay. With a floof. And a floof. Alright. Wait. I don't know what that is. We're getting rid of that. That's gone. That's gone. That's gone. Don't worry about it, chat. It's gone. It's gone. Okay, what do rabbits look like? Okay, they got this thing. I got this. All of them do. All of them like this. Little nose, tiny little eyes. Smile, little smile. I got these big old ears. Okay, giant ears. Yes. Little hand. And he's just big fucking feet. Big fucking feet. And a little fucking tail. Yeah. Okay. So, little black eye. Little black eye. Oh wait, no, they have one of these, don't they? Ha ha! Yes! That's what it takes. That's what I was missing. That's what I was missing, chat. I was missing the little goofy fucking derpy face. There you go. Okay, there we go. And they all have a little pink tongue sticking out all the time. Okay. Yes, chat. Yes. My masterpiece. Oh god, everything's changed colors again. Okay, no, we're gonna do... No, Silas. Twitch did not shadow ban you. Why would Twitch shadow ban you? That's crazy. Okay, we're gonna fix this. Bada boom. Bada boom, 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 boom. Ah! Boom, boom. Okay. Okay. Hello, penguin. We're drawing bunnies. This is what all bunnies look like. You can't prove it otherwise. Nya. Okay. Oh, wait. The tails are white, aren't they? There it is. Okay. Oh, and the ears. I fucked up the ears, chat. I'm so sorry. Give me a second. Oof. There we go. Yes. Uh-huh. Okay. Okay. Perfect. Now, chat. You might be wondering, what kind of gun does a rabbit have? What kind of gun does a rabbit have? Okay. Okay. The thing is, do you see how tiny these little hands are? How are they holding guns? They can't hold guns. No. Like Raphael from fucking Ninja Turtles. Yeah, that's right. They have a size. All of them have size. There you go. We'll make it a little bit... Yeah. That's better. Make it a little bit thicker. Oh, and little eyebrows. 'Cause he's a bad bunny. Yes. And that's a rabbit chat. This is what all rabbits look like. All of them. All of them look like this all the time. Yes. Gene, draw a wolf, please. Now, you're right. No, you're right. Right. This chat. This one specifically. It's Kevin. Kevin. Chat. This is Kevin. Boop, boop. I want you all to remember this is Kevin. He smokes. He smokes. Yeah. He does smoke. Kevin obviously smokes. All right, chat. I can fix this. Whoop. There. Oh no! It needs to be like. Ah! I fixed it, chat. Do you finally get to be the big spoon? Only for Kevin. I'm sorry, you're gonna have to cuddle Kevin. Okay. You say you want me to draw Beastars? You want me to draw the wolf from Beastars? I got this, chat. I'm gonna draw the wolf from Beastars. Alright, here we go. His name is Lego She. So we got to start with what we know about him, okay? Clearly that means he is Lego. So we start there. We start with him being Lego, okay? Lego, the square body, the fucking hands, the fucking hands. The fucking hands. Okay, the bodies. But he's also a wolf, so we need to use some gray here. So it's like this, okay? Yes. He's got eyes. Oh no, it's too big. It's too big, chat. I'm sorry. Oh no, wait a second. Chat. Do you all you've seen Little Red Riding Hood, right? You've seen Little Red Riding Hood, right? Okay. Little Red Riding Hood. What big eyes you have. So he's got big fucking eyes, okay? Big fucking eyes. And it's an anime, so we will draw the classic anime eyes. Actually, wait, no, that's not how you draw anime eyes. Sorry, chat, I forgot. You do it like this. Okay, and so you go shwoof, 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 shwoof. There we go. Yes. His little things. He goes, woohoo. Amazing. Okay. Black nose, teeth, sharp teeth. It goes into here. Legos. We're good. We're doing great. We're doing amazing. Okay. He's also skinny. He is a twink, right? Right. So we gotta redraw this. We gotta redraw all of this, actually. All of the body. Gone. Skinny, slender, shoulders. Still got them little arms. Lego hands. Okay, got it. Amazing. Neck, because he's Lego. Oh, ears, right, fox ears. Wolf ears, sorry. Whatever wolf's ears have. Yeah, that's what wolf ears look like, right, chat? Right? Okay. Little legs. And he has to have a little speech bubble. I like boinking rabbit. Perfect. Okay. Speech bubble. There we go. Legoshi. Beastars. We've done it, chat. Oh, right. A weapon. Okay. A weapon. Let me think about his weapon. Okay. I need to figure out his weapon properly. Nah. He's a bum. He's actually a bum. Chat. He is a bum. I win. He is the weapon. Amazing. He's just explosive. He just... I think we've done a great job today, chat. What do you think? What do you think? Post this to B-Stars Rule 34. I am so pleased. I guess I should color it. Nah, I don't want to color it in. I'm too lazy. Moving out of the basement. Oh. All right, chat. Clip it. Show. Go post it on. I don't. I'm just gonna. Oh. All right, chat. Give me 1 second. I need to recover for a little bit. It's just so stupid. It's just so stupid. Oh, okay. Oh, chat. I forgot. I'm gonna do what I actually wanted to talk about. Hi. Anyways, so here's what we're actually wanting to talk about. Here's what I actually want to talk about. I have a new thing for stream that I'm wanting to do, and I want to explain to you all how it works. Okay. So. This was all a side quest. Anyways, so I'm gonna end up taking a few days off of stream in the afternoon, not in the morning, because I need to learn how to code Python. And the reason why is because there's a program that uses Python, that integrates with Twitch, and what it does is it lets me make a queue, okay? And so here we're gonna explain it. Ignore this drawing. So here we go. Boop, 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 boop. No, it has to be in Python. Listen. So imagine if you will. This is stream, okay? Here I am in the corner, looking cool as fuck. Here's a game. Boo da boo da boo. It's a game. Whatever the fuck. I don't care. And we have 3 little guys on the bottom of the screen, okay? Bloop, bloop. Bloop. We're gonna call it 1, 2, 3. Actually, we're gonna call it 1C, 2C, 3C, because this is chat. We have a chat window over here, okay? Now, what this code would allow it to do is that there's gonna be a little redeem button. You click it, and you join a queue. And this queue would have a list. It'd be, here's 1C, 2C, 3C. And it's going to have a bunch of names. We'll say Vanya, Gold She, Robin, doesn't matter. Doodle-doodle, name. Now you hit this button, right? You hit this button, and you join a queue. And then I hit a button, that's here, and it just says random. And what it's going to let me do is pick a random person from one of these lists, okay? And it's going to take one of these people from this list and assign it here. Yeah? So it's suddenly going to become Vanya. Whatever. And now everything that Vanya says, everything Vanya says in chat, let's say Vanya is here and goes, blah, 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 blah. This is now going to go blah, 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 blah. And talk on stream. With voice to text. And then Vanya says something else. And it's going to talk again. And I can hit the random button, and suddenly this isn't Vanya anymore. Now it's Robin. And the reason why we do this, is so that I can drive a car. No, it's going to be great because it's only so hear me out. This is the reason for this. Chat, what makes my stream good? What do you like about my stream? Let's be honest. What do you like about my stream? Because I'm a fucking idiot. Yes. Of course. I'm funny. I'm cute. You like bullying me. There you go. It's me. Now imagine we have 100 people in this chat, okay? Imagine we have 1,000 people in this chat. You can't bully me anymore because there's too many people. There's too many people to talk. And suddenly it's going to be like overwhelming to have so many fucking people here. But you hit this button and guess what? Now you're in my stream and it's 3 people I'm focusing on. And so suddenly chat is more integrated with me and I can communicate with people again. And we have people who are watching and we have the people who are actually on the stream. I mean, sure, yeah, you all can still keep mass bullying me, but then you get to be here with me, and I get to still interact with you, and we get to have fun stuff, and you get your little screen time. And, we can turn this into a car. You know, it's like, bloop, here's the car. I'm driving the car. Y'all are in the passenger seat, and you're gonna bully me while we drive through stuff. We'll drive through nature, and then chat gets to do shit. And y'all can yell at me and you can be like, oh, can you turn around or whatever the fuck you want. And I think it'd be hilarious, right? We wouldn't do this all the time, of course. But like, that means we can still, you know, boom. Yeah. And we could have a trunk redeem where you could just do it one voice line of chat to text by doing it. You would just continually, and that's the thing. If you get annoying, I hit the random button, and we get a new person from the list. Now, that does mean I'm gonna have to take a few afternoons off stream. Well, okay, maybe I'll just take a few mornings, a few afternoons. But it's only gonna be like 3 days, and I won't take it all at once. But I just need to learn how to code a little bit. And by the way, this already exists. I have the code that does this. I have the code that already does this. I just need to use Python to learn how to implement it and really use it. I mean, chat, do you want to see it, how it work? There's another streamer who already does this. Just not how we do it. 1 second. One second. Aha, got it. This guy.
Takes a lot of time to set them up. Wait, hold on. Can you still see the game? No. Wait, is the video
Right, here we go.
permit? But management keeps changing the rules of who can be let through, and I'm struggling to keep up.
Allow all arsonists.
Time to
It
do
is
ours.
Python. The Python.
Why are we letting these?
So the Python works with the Twitch integration. That's why, like, it needs to be Python to work with a Twitch integration, or whatever it is. It uses a lot. It uses a lot, but I need to learn how to run it, and to learn how to run it, I need Python. This is what we do. We basically remaking this.
20 in 5 minutes. Easy. We can do this. Hello? Passports, please.
I'm here to sell all these definitely legitimate Switch 2s.
And I see you're a subscriber. Welcome back. Approved.
On we go.
Next.
Just here with
Isn't
my
this so
regular
cool?
shipment
We could
of
fucking do
gasoline.
this.
Glory to
We
Shindig
could so do
Scott.
this.
Okay, you're not a subscriber, but I see you're a Twitch affiliate, which we are allowing through. Approved.
Amazing, right? So yes, I have code that does this. I just need to figure out how to run it. Mwah. Mwah, 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 mwah. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Mwah. Okay. Anyways, would I let you through? Yes, I would, Robin. I would. I would personally let you through. Where'd the music go? I miss my music. Give me a second.
Takes a lot of time.
Here it is. Okay. Chat, we have 30 minutes left of stream. What do you want to do? What do you want to do, guys? What do you want to do? I mean, Flutie. Oh. Ross. You are such a good girl, aren't you? Always such a good girl. Thank you so much for the redeem. And yes, chat, I would love you no matter what you are. I would love you no matter what you are. You can spend it on a custom audio if you'd like. Okay, good night, Wobbin. Good night. This was fun. Okay, we have 30 minutes, chat. We can play something. Let me see what I have to play. I was thinking about playing like a morality game, but I don't think I have any morality game. Burn the witch. Oh, have I been on a date before? Yeah, I've been on a lot of dates. I've been, yeah. I mean, okay, a big yes. Custom, no, fuck the Big Mac. Fuck the Big Mac. Big yes. Can I play with your heart? Always Vanya. Make your dates custom to the person you're going on. Don't do generic dates. I know it's so easy to be like, oh, we're gonna go to see a movie and we're gonna go eat. No. I mean, it's a decent starting date, but you know, like, make custom dates. And also, think about the date. If you watch a movie, it's a long movie, you're tired afterwards, you're not gonna wanna go to dinner. But if you go to dinner and you eat a big dinner and then you're gonna be all bloated and tired, you're not gonna wanna watch the movie. So find out something that you can do. Find a good date that's a combination, you know? What are you proud of, Sophie? Hi, hi. Alchemy 2? What's Alchemy 2? I might actually own that. I do not own Alchemy 2. Unless I don't know how to spell alchemy. Alright. Hey, good job, Sophie. I'm proud of you. Oh no, I have Potion Crafter. Alchemist Simulator. I only see Alchemy 1. Red flags for first dates? Dick too big. No. My red flags or somebody else's red flags? Like if I were to look at somebody else? Let's see. Red flags would be... Oh, cell phone. Cell phone. Cell phone, cell phone, cell phone, cell phone. Chat, if the phone comes out like within the first 5 minutes of the date and they're actively doing something on their phone, why be there? Why come out to see me if you're just going to be on your phone? Cell phones are the biggest red flag. The only time I want to see your phone is if you take your phone out and you put it face down on the table. That way everyone's like, you can pull out your phone and be like, hey, and then you put it face down, boom, it's out of your pocket. They can tell you're not messing with it. Exactly. And the only reason you should go to your phone at all is because you want to show somebody. Also, maybe not on a first date, but I hate when people sit across from me. I want to sit next to you. I want to be able to get close to you. I want to be able to talk to you and whisper things and go to somebody and be like, hey, you're so cute. And then sharing food. Oh my God, if you don't share food, be like, oh my God, this is so cool. This is so tasty. You share food. Always share food. It's so much fun. You buy 2 dishes, you buy 3 dishes. My favorite like dinner date is appetizer dinner date. You go out there, you pick out all the appetizers you want. You eat a little bit of everything, and you get to try everything, and you just vibe and you chill, and you get some drinks. You talk. It's goofy. It's messy. It's so much fun. And like you get to really taste the menu then. You don't just have like 2 dishes and then you're done. Indian food, Indian food, Indian food. If you go to a date with someone and you get Indian food and they eat the entire their dish by themselves, they don't know the point of Indian food. The reason why Indian dishes are so big is because they're intended to share. Chinese dishes, like when they have like the fucking lo mein and all that stuff, they're intended to share. Hi, Starshine. We're doing good. We're talking about red flags on dates. So yes. Leans over your ear. Emprank. I hate your guts. Please, 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 please. My own red flags? I get distracted really easily. I get super airplaning a big spoon of Yakuza rice into your mouth in the day. if they have to airplane feed you all your food, that's a red flag. I'm like, oh, okay. No, but like on a day-to-day, like especially like when I'm dating somebody, I get like super into certain things and then I'll forget the other person exists, which is really shitty. And I was working on that and getting better at that. Making sure to check in on people. But I get so focused on the things that I want to do that like it's hard for me to make time for other people. My red flag is if you don't eat your veggies. I love veggies. Oh yeah. If they don't eat their veggies. Of course, we have the classics of like, you know, is shitty to a waiter. Big red flag. We have the, like sends back their food immediately. I understand if like you ordered a steak cooked well and it's bloody because you have a texture issue, or if you ordered something and it has like a dietary restriction. And yeah, if there's a veg you don't like, but the thing is you don't have to order that veggie. I will say though, there's only one time I justified a shitty action to a waiter or to a restaurant. Because what they did was, they're like, oh yeah, we'd like to order a salad. Would you like to know how they brought us the salad? They brought us entire cob of salad, still on like the root, with sauce just drizzled over it. And they're like, yeah, this is a fancy salad. No, chat, we're going back to the drawing board. We're going to the drawing board. Give me a second. Shh, there's paint. All right, chat, the drawing board is important. We gotta go back to the drawing board so I can show you what this looks like. Here's what they did. Here's what the salad was like, okay? Oh, shit. We're gonna draw a little plate, a circle. Oh, there we go. Perfect, amazing. Okay. We're gonna draw the salad. Like this. And this is individual. This is a whole thing. These are the leaves. And... oh, shit. And then they just had, like... We'll make it like an orange dressing, but it was like a white dressing. It's just not going to show up. And just like this. That was the salad. That was the salad. It was together. It was just there. Like at least separate the leaves. And it wasn't even like a fancy place. It was at like a bar. Not a bar, but it was like what is it? Brewery? One of the breweries. And so it's just like this. Now, I've been to some fancy places. Yeah, exactly. Now prepare it. I go to this place. I can't tell you what it's called because it's going to dox me, and I actually like going there. But it's a vegan place where they make what is called Sunday meal or whatever. And they make you these like really nice vegan dishes. And it's courses. It's like 7 courses. Each one is like a small plate with something on it. Very tasty. Very unique each time. Super well done. Always different every time you go. Love it. Love it. One of my favorite places to go. I'm afraid to go there because I used to go there with my ex, and they are vegan, but I really want to go back there one day. Maybe if I get a date. Chat, do you want to go to the vegan restaurant with me? Exactly. Yeah? Okay. Y'all can go to the vegan restaurant with me. It's a lovely, fancy place. It's very pretty. They have nice drinks that are always themed, and it was great. I miss it. You'll pay for real? It's a little expensive. I would never ask my date to pay. Which, that can go either way, by the way. It's not a red flag, but somebody expecting the other person to pay is not red, but it is like a, If you go, do you want to split the bill? I'll always go, no, I'll pay for it. Doesn't matter. If I'm bringing friends, I will pay for it. I'll pay for my friends. I'll pay for the date. Whatever. They'll get me another time. But people aren't, I don't like splitting bills just because it makes it difficult for the waitress. I'd rather just pay it myself and they can pay me back if they want to, but the way I look, no, the restaurant doesn't cook vegans. It cooks for vegans. The way I think of money is, I always give money away. If somebody pays me back, that's fine. Nah. It depends. It depends. If you're going to somebody like you have not talked to them much, right? Let's say like you've just started talking to them, you've chatted a little bit, and you've been like, hey, fine shit. Don't call them fine shit. If you go to somebody, you're like, hey, I think you're kind of cool. We've barely talked, but do you want to get to know each other over drinks or over a meal? Then you pay. Because you're giving them money. You're giving them food to give you the chance to know them. You haven't had the chance to really know them. If you've known each other for a while, like you've been friends, and they're like, hey, do you want to go on a date? Like, I know we've been like hanging out for like a year or something, or like 6 months or 3 months. Do you want to, like, I don't know, just go on a date, see what happens? Then yeah, it's a mutual territory. You're going together. But if it's you pushing the other person to go on a date, there you go. Hey, yo, fine shit. You want to go on a date? You and me, Moxie? Let's go right now. Imagine, Gene. Hey, fine shit. Wait. Can you hear that? He's a little guy. He's my little guy. Listen, he's gonna talk to you a little bit, okay? Just chat, listen. Wait, what did he just say? No, shush. It's my tweezers. It's my tweezers. Chat, get your head out of the gutter. Get your head out of the gutter. They're tweezers. I'm just scratching some tweezers. Just a... You can't say that. Jeez. Stop saying slurs. Whisper flirting is a weakness? No, Vaughn, yeah. Sweetie. Rubbing. If my nuts are making those noises, I'd be really, really worried. My throat gun hurts. That's fine. Huh? I know they do, don't they? I got it. Drinking gin. On it right now. Thank you. Cheers. You know what my Oh, Aaron, you're such a good boy, aren't you? Oh, you're such a good boy for me. No, my big ick, racial slurs. Slurs of any kind. Especially, no, my biggest ick. Oh, I can say that because I'm blah, blah, blah. The amount of people I've said is, oh, I'm autistic, so I can say this. No, it's big ick. Hi, Y2K, how you doing? Roxanne. And it's just like, if you have to, hi, Vanya. Thank you for the follow, by the way. Thank you. Vanya, sweetie, you gorgeous little raccoon. Do you know how sweet you are, how wonderful you are, and just how much you mean to me? You are so incredible. I mean, if you were to ask me to do just about anything, for you, sweetie, you know I would. Thank you so much for the redeem. And you're wonderful. You're amazing. You're incredible mod. I appreciate you so much. Hi, my neighbor's dog aunt is, so I can say it. Yeah, no. Exactly. Yeah, no. Just saying shitty things. And talking shit about other people. Like, if one of the first things... Oh, okay, Vanya. If one of the first things somebody does to you is talk shit about somebody else, that's bad. You got burned? Are you okay, sweetie? Okay, Moreau, you can Google the slurs. There's not many of them. You write down all the slurs, keep a little slur book, and make sure you say none of them. Oh, well, okay, go run your finger under cold water, okay, little alien? Oh, wait, no, not cold water. Room temperature water. Put your finger in warm temperature water. That'll help. If you have some aloe or some cooling stuff, is keeping a slur book a red flag? Probably. That's okay, Silas. You can do whatever you want. Hi, darling divine. How you doing? Don't worry about that. I don't control the pinning. Yeah, put a little aloe on it. Take care of yourself, okay? That's fair. Job application. Employment. HR department. Really? Interesting. I cast job application. A break? Oh, how's your break going? How we got you doing? Wait, or I'm gonna try to say that. Ah, ja, ooh, ah, we judge. Oh, your break's almost over. I'm sorry to hear that. She never gets on Love or Host. I'm signing up effective immediately. What's Love or Host? That's true. I don't know what Love or Host is. I don't hate you, Aura. Why would I hate you? I don't know what Love or Host is, chat. Moxie, I feel you on that. I do that too. Oh, no, little alien. Lower the temperature. It's on Twitch. Let's go take a look, okay? Or like, you know, put a lid on it. Oh, Austin Shaw.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to
Oh, Austin! I know this man.
Yes! My man. Welcome to Lover Host, everybody.
Chat though, I'm gonna have to get a lot larger. I think we're gonna have to hit like at least like 100 viewer average, right? We're gonna be big. We gotta get big, chat. So chat, remember, promote me to all of your friends and your enemies. Make it so nobody doesn't know of me. And then together we'll get on Lover Host, and then you all can date me. Thank you, Carl. Carlist. Thank you. I need to get in better shape. He's bathing with a lot of people. I need to get in good shape so I can bathe with him. Chat, I need to get in good muscles, and if I get strong, I'm gonna go bathe with Aaron here. Whatever his name is, Austin. Sorry. We're gonna get nice and muscular. I'm gonna get like a I'm gonna get like a lumberjack build as a goal, and then I'm gonna get in the bathtub with Aaron. Austin. Right, his name's Austin. Goals, chat, goals. Sound like a dream, exactly. Oh, sorry. Because apparently, well, I'm gonna screen share with you. Don't look at my shitty drawing of lettuce. I can practice bathing with you. I'm gonna be honest, Moxie. I do know how to bathe myself, but see, look, he's bathing with people. I took a bath with Doug.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on what part of the planet you're in. Welcome to another episode of In
That is
the
a
Tub
small
with
bath.
Austin Show. If you're new
Kiss her
here,
chat, come here.
You're probably wondering, why is this man half
Vanya,
naked?
is this new praise or is this old
Supposed to be
praise?
some sort of pornographic movie. No, you'd be wrong. All right, this ain't a pornographic movie. It's a non-sexual tub interview. We like to take
Anyways.
himbos post thirst traps of all the men on
See?
Twitch, right?
See?
And you were on it. You took your shirt off on a gaming stream. And we get there. Big time.
Yeah.
Big time. That's the first time I saw you.
Who's like a
Goals. I mean, I'm gonna look better than both of them. I'm gonna get like super. Oh, have fun. Mwah. Have fun. Yeah, no, honestly though, like I am 6'4" still. I don't know how well I'd fit in the tub, but I would try. He could sit on my lap. He'll sit on my lap, chat. I'll just put my arms around him, have him lay against me, and give him a little kiss. What? Sorry, huh? Let's give him a little kiss. Just gonna, mwah. Is it honestly? Yes, chat, you can sit on my lap. You all can sit on my lap. You bench 240 for 2 reps. Good. I don't bench. I should probably start benching. That means I need to start going to the gym. Damn it! Batosai, how often do you go to the gym? Chat, how often do you go to the gym? Batosai. I worked there for a while. Oh, that doesn't help me. Robin Harbs, not enough. No, but I need. Oh God, I'm so big over there. Give me a second, chat. There we go. No, chat. If I'm gonna get on the show, so I can be in a bathtub with this man, and I can kiss him a little bit, just a little kiss. Give him a little kiss. 3 days. 3 is fine. Okay, so what if can I just work on at home? Jim, what is that? How you doing, Robin? Cause I need to go to the show so I can kiss him a little. Just give him a little kiss. Chat, goals. Get on a lot of other streamers' shows and kiss them. Good idea or great idea? A red flag or green flag? That my entire goal in getting on people's shows is to give them a little kiss. Is this bad or good? Hi, Wild Kitten. How you doing? Beige flag? Good flag. See, no, but okay. I'm putting effort into them. See, I'm working out. I'm putting a lot of effort into bettering myself. I can give him a little kiss. That shows self-improvement. That should be green flag, right? Self-improvement for little kisses. Little kiss. Well, just a little kiss. Baby poop green flag. If I could get kisses, exactly. Just a little kiss. What if I had a show that's just people having little kisses, huh? What do you think about that? Why am I the way I am? Too much Game Grumps growing up. Drugs occasionally. Chronic depression. Oh God, so much depression. Trauma. A lot of depression. You don't get kisses? I'll give you a little kiss. Mwah. It's one of my favorite Game Grumps bits. 1 second. We're watching this chat. We're watching this chat. It's great. We're getting. Let me get small for you there, chat. Okay.
Hello, welcome to.
We're not watching the whole thing. But this.
Game Grumps.
Welcome to Game Grumps.
My name's Aaron.
And I'm Dan. And
we're
this
the Game
is
Grumps.
Spider-Man.
Spider, whatever that was.
Spider-Webber.
Spider kiss? Spider punch!
Spider kiss. Spider punch. Spider kiss.
Spider punch. Spider punch. Spider kiss.
Spider kills.
Like weirds them out more than it attacks them.
It's like spider punch, spider kick, spider kiss, spider punch.
Whoa.
What was that last one? Spider punch?
Spider kick?
No, before that. Spider kick?
Punch. Watch out, there's a little web goo in there. Kiss. Kiss, kiss.
Kiss kiss.
Disappoint, spider kiss.
Spider kiss. We're gonna skip. By the way, it's just 30 minutes long, so we're just gonna jump random places.
It doesn't even make sounds.
Nope.
Uh-oh, I'm gonna fall. Oh, thank God. Don't kiss me, Knuckles.
He's like, I'm gonna kiss you.
It's a good time. I'll give you a kiss afterwards.
I'll give you a little kiss
I know what
afterwards.
you mean.
Right?
Busting your chops.
Oh, fudge.
I'm just doing some chop busting.
You have been known to do that from time to time.
Did you notice that the only things you do with chops are lick or bust them? That's a weird combination of things. What's up, chops?
What'll it be today? The lick or the bust?
Yeah. You lick those chops, you get a bust.
Wait, well, I need the kissing. There we go.
Most certainly not chops.
Yeah.
Come on.
I will give you
Uh-huh.
a kiss on the cheek.
There we go. Anyways, they say kissing a lot, and that is why I am like I am, chat. That is why I am like I am. Because I just want to go give everybody a little kiss, just a little mwah, kiss. I hate how food goes bad. It does go bad too fast. Why has my garlic gone bad? Oh. Hello, kitty. Do you also want a little kiss? Mwah. Everyone wants a little smooch. Exactly. Hello, kitty. Thank you for the follow. Thank you for the follow. Thank you for the follow. How you doing? But yes, do you know why your garlic is bad? Because you should get a giant gar of jarlic. Get a gar of jarlic. Get a gar. Get a gar. Get a gar. Get a gar. No! Get a gar. Damn it! Get a gar. Fucking. Okay. I got this. Get a gar of gar. Gar. Damn it. A gar. No! Fuck! Jar! A jar of garlic! A gar. Jar. A jar. A jar. It doesn't sound like a real word anymore. It doesn't sound like a real word anymore. A jar. A jar. A jar of garlic. Please. Please. A jar of garlic. Yes. There we go. A big jar of... No! I can't do it. I can't do it. A jar. Get a large jar of garlic. There we go. They're at Costco. They're super cheap. They're great. A big jar of garlic. I got it. I've succeeded. It's a jar. A jar. It's not a gar. A gar is a fish. A gar of garlic. No. No. Jar of garlic. Okay. 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 Oh. Bunny. Little bunny. Really? Come here, little bunny. Let me try. I ain't getting a large jar of garlic no matter how much I love garlic unless you buy it for me. No. I mean, yes, I'll buy it for you on a Costco date. But like the jar. Oh, chill, my redeem. Where's your redeem? Where's your redeem? What redeem? Oh, foodie, come here. Chill, I'm holding a knife over here. What do you... Flirts? I have a knife. What the fuck kind of response is that to me flirting? Yes, you know, I'm so flustered I could stab you. I could stab you for flustering me. Chad, I'm so embarrassed I could stab a motherfucker. Where do I get a jar of garlic? Jar of garlic? Stab me harder, daddy. So, I'm sorry. Anyways, I just want to impress you with my cool knife. Look how cool my knife is. I'm sorry I flirted. And then I die. And then I die. It's such a cool knife. Hey, look at my new sword. Ah! But yes, a jar of garlic's gonna last you for fucking ever. It's like with citric acid, so fucking get that shit. Toss that shit in everything. You get garlic all the time. It's not as good as fresh garlic, but it's a lot better than garlic powder. It's the circle of life. Garlic. Not garlic, not garlic, not garlic. Not garlic, we're not doing this again. I'm never talking about garlic again, okay, Chad? Okay. No garlic. Garlic my balls. Sorry. If there's no, not allowed anymore, Chad. I also like that in the background the entire time has been the chill ass fucking music of me fucking crashing out here on stream. And meanwhile, it's just in the background like do 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 do. Jarlick. Gene's garbage Jarlick crash out. Oh god, okay, well, chat, we're coming up on the end of stream here. So do we raid out to somebody? What do you think? God, this has been a good stream. Did y'all have a good stream? Oh, Silas. What a bad little incubus you are. Such a bad little incubus. Bad boy. It was a good stream. I think we need to do more just chatting streams. We'll raid into Wubby? Fuck it. Fuck it, we'll raid into Wubby. We'll raid into fucking Wubby. Link me Wubby's Twitch right now. Link me Wubby's Twitch right now. Fuck it. Fuck it. We ball. We ball, motherfuckers. We're heading our dicks right up into that man's general vicinity. Pay money, Wubby. All right, chat. Y'all say hi to Pay Money Wubby, okay? Y'all have fun. Y'all be good boys and girls and dogs and other things. Say hi for me. Give me a smooch. Give me a big smooch. And just say, Gar of Jarlick. There you go.
Close it. So he knows what it's about. He knows I'm not mad.
Boom. Okay, you ready? Love you all. Be good. Behave yourselves. I'm not sticking around. Y'all have fun.
Boom. Close out of the